ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। So, the last class we were studying the concept of the divine incarnation as has been explained in the Bhagavad Gita in the 4th chapter, namely the Jnana Yoga. So now we will continue the next section from the 11th sloka. The idea, it's a very, very Catholic, profound idea, which speaks of the acceptance of all faiths, of all religions. This is the sloka which actually in that 7-minute lecture of Swami Vivekananda, the famous lecture of Swami Vivekananda, the Chicago address. In that 7 minutes lecture, this is one of the slokas which he quoted. So what's that sloka? Ye yatha mang prapadyante tangs tathaiva bhajamyaham mama vartmanu vartante manushya partha sarvashah. Ye yatha mang prapadyante. So in whatever way men worship me, in whatever way, tangs tathaiva bhajamyaham. In the same way do I fulfill their desires. So it's the translation we say we fulfill our desires. Actually, the way they worship me, the Lord is saying that actually I am worshiping them by fulfilling their desires in the same way. The same way, bhajami aham. I am also bhajami. This bhaj dhatu means to worship. This is a wonderful idea. That's the idea even we have to enunciate in our life. That as Swami Vivekananda used to say, that when you are serving someone, don't think you are great, as if you are standing in a high pedestal and the one who is being served is standing below and you are just serving as if you are something great. And what's the way we have to serve others? No, the one who he has extended his hand for some help because of some dire circumstances. Know him or her to be the Lord in that form he has appeared in front of you. It is a God alone who came in the form of the poor, the destitute, Daridra Narayan, Dukha, this Ajnana Narayan, Daridra Narayan. So they have came in that form. The Lord in the disguise of the poor, of the destitute, he is standing in front of you. It is the giver who should kneel down. It is the giver who should kneel down and feel blessed that the Lord has came to me in this form, and whatever best way I can serve, I am serving. So with that humility, as Ramakrishna used to say, that you, such an insignificant creature, you think of helping others. That's a lesson which Naren, as a young boy, learned from Sri Ramakrishna. That one day, when someone was describing in presence of Ramakrishna the 3 pillars of Vaishnava religion, that Vaishnav Pujan, Name Ruchi, Vaishnav Pujan, and Jive Daya. Name Ruchi. To have the pleasure in taking the name of the divine. And Vaishnav Shevan, to serve the devotees of the God. And Jive Daya. This compassion towards the Jiva, the beings. The moment he heard this word Jive Daya, immediately went into Samadhi. For some time he was in that state. He came down from that state and he literally spit it. spit it on the ground, saying, "You insignificant creature, how do you think you are going to help others?" And then that the mantra came out. This is what there are scriptures in the new form, for this our age, that you, an insignificant creature, you are going to help others. Shiva Jnani Jiva Shiva. Know that the Shiva in the disguise of Jiva has appeared in front of you. Serve him, worship him. And that's the idea Lord himself is saying. That is just not simply fulfilling our desires. He's worshipping these insignificant beings, we who are just, what he says, kneeling down in front of him, so that he may bless us. And if our prayer is earnest, he comes and he himself bows down. And he offers the thing, what we are desiring for. It's not that he's just, as a Lord, he's giving. He himself, that when Girish Ghosh came to Ramakrishna for the first time, the drunkard, he was not a man of, as a dramatist, he was very famous. But as a person, everyone knew that he's not a very integrated person. He's a drunkard, he visits all wrong places. Such a person of ill repute. He was famous for the plays in those days, a wonderful playwriter. Such a person, when he comes to meet Ramakrishna, it is Ramakrishna who first bows down to him. Now, Girish never had the habit of bowing down to anyone. So seeing someone bowing down to him, he bows down. And Ramakrishna will be bowing down still low. And Girish will be bowing down to still low. Like that, it went on 3-4 times. Still, Ramakrishna almost prostrated. And then Keshav, it happened with Keshav Chandra Sen also. And Girish used to say that if Ramakrishna came in this age, the age when the young Bengal, having a little English education, were so haughty, were thinking they know everything. They are there to rule the world as if. And that's the time when Ramakrishna came to just teach us to bow down. Pranam karar jonno, just to bow down. So this humble attitude, this is the thing which the scripture here that Bhagavan is speaking of. It is he who worships the devotees by fulfilling their desires. It's not just he grants them, he worships by fulfilling his desires. He carries in his shoulder the needs of the devotees. This yoga kshemam vahamyam. So that's the idea. Ye yatha mang prapadyante tangs tathaiva bhajamyam mama vartmanu vartante manushya partha sarvasa. That it is my path, O Partha, that men walk in always, whatever they're doing, whatever. Swami Vivekananda, we will be just saying, he used to say that we always divide the world into good and bad. And he used to say nothing is bad, everything is good. But our aim is to be better. I will read his words just a little bit later. This is the wonderful idea that whatever, if you are just headlong going to the materialistic pursuit and you earnestly want to gain some wealth, some pleasures of life, that it is the Lord who will come and fulfill that. This world has no capacity to give you even a single speck of happiness. Whenever you get bliss in all your pursuits, it is the Lord who is bestowing you the bliss. That we will discuss today, that how it happens, that it is any happiness you get, even from our sensual desires, the happiness we get, the carnal desires, the happiness you get. The happiness comes from the Lord. This world doesn't have the capacity to give you even a single drop of happiness. In the words of Shankaracharya, in Bhagavad Gita commentary, in some other sloka, where he's saying, Na sansare sukhasya gandha matram api vidyate. Gandhasya, not even a single, this little smell of happiness, this world doesn't have the capacity to give. Whenever you're getting happiness, it comes from the Lord. We will discuss it. It's that we may feel that all the criminals, after doing crime, the happiness they get, they're going through some wrong way, but the happiness when they get, that happiness is something which comes from the divine, nowhere else. Whenever you're getting happiness, whatever you're doing, it comes from the divine. So, from a broader perspective, the verse indicates that there is no standard path there is no dogmatic standard like that. As in the Rig Veda, it has been mentioned that this Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti is the same truth which the sages speak in different ways. So all the varied paths, in the words of Ramakrishna, leads to the spiritual goal. Jato mot, tato path. As many ways, so many paths. All the paths are the way. As many paths, so many ways. All the paths lead to that spiritual goal. So this is the idea, is a wonderful thing which we find in the Vedic religion. There is no such standardization that I am the last prophet and this is the last word. No. We can never restrict the Lord. He is omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient. In ages, out of compassion, whenever he feels that the humankind is in need of the divine interpretation of the worldly way of living. The worldly way of living has to be interpreted by the divine if we want to be living an integrated life. And where is the dearth of that? He incarnates so many times, in so many forms, in so many countries, in so many ways. That the song in our school assembly we used to sing, Har Desh mein tu, Har Vesh mein tu, Tera naam anek, tu ek hi hai. But in every country, in so many various attire, it is you who have incarnated. You have various names, but you are that same being coming through various forms. So this is the wonderful idea. So Swami Vivekananda, when he was addressing the West, when he saw this any form of fanaticism, that made him comment against fanaticism in a very strong words. In one of his lectures, he's saying a very interesting thing, that the fanaticism, that those who are fanatics, they are even worse than the dog. Means not that exact word he's using is, their condition is even worse than the canine instinct. Is a very polite way of saying. Canine instinct means the dogs, your domesticated dogs. And why? Is he just simply abusing? No, he has a reason. What he's saying is very interesting. That even a dog can recognize its master in whatever dress he may come. But the fanatics cannot recognize their master if he changes his dress. What a wonderful way of saying. The moment he changes his dress, the fanatics cannot recognize his master. So they're even worse than the dog. The dogs have that instinct. They can recognize their master in whatever attire he may be. But these fanatics cannot recognize. So, this is a wonderful thing in our tradition, the concept of Easter. The Lord that can be manifesting in varied forms. But as per my temperament, as per my choice, I can just make one of them as my chosen ideal and start proceeding in my spiritual journey based on that. That the famous words of Hanuman, that, that I know that, Lord, you have been manifesting yourself for ages in so many forms. But for me, you, Rama, is my only Lord. Tathapi mama sarvasya, Rama, Kamala, that Srinathe Janakinath. The exact slope goes like that. Srinathe Janakinath, Abheda Paramatmani. I know the Lord of Sri, of Lakshmi, and Janakinath, the Lord of Janaki, that's Rama. Abheda, they're both Abheda, the same. That I know for certain. Srinathe, Janakinath, Abheda Paramatmani. They're the same Paramatman. Tathapi, but still, Mama Sarvasva, my all in all, Rama Kamala Lochana. That lotus-eyed Rama, he's my all in all. This is the concept of Easter. Nowadays, in the name of this making Hinduism a brand, sometimes we go against Hinduism. That's why I will just say a very interesting thing. I was hearing a lecture of the so-called the Hindu activists. What they're saying, that one of the biggest disadvantage of Hinduism is we cannot organize together. And he was saying that you go to the Kumbh Mela And you find such a huge congregation you will never see anywhere. For religious congregation, in millions, people are there, but no one is doing the same thing. You go to a church, all are having the same prayer, that wonderful, that the sonorous sound which comes from that beautiful rhythm of the prayers. You go to any mosque when they're having their what's the roja or their prayers, the namaz chanting, and you will find the same thing. All are doing the same prayer, even bowing down together, getting up together. Everything appears to be so much regimented, almost. And sometimes we feel that has organized them, and we are heavily disorganized. Even you find the husband and the wife are not doing the same thing. They're doing all different things. And in Kumbh Mela, you find that's a fact. And you may be convinced, yes, that's the reason most probably we are disorganized, but we forget. That's the basic concept, salient feature of Hinduism. If you just get rid of that, Hinduism is gone. What's the concept behind that? Same, the Ishta worship. All of us have the right to worship our Ishta, our Lord, in our way. That Swami Vivekananda in one place is saying that I will be the happiest person the day when there will be as many religions, as many individuals. Actually, each and every individual has his own religion. If you just talk to even the one who ascribes to your faith, you talk to him, start discussion, you will find the way you relate to your spiritual ideal is not the same. Some way or other, it will be different. In this world, the signature, if God has got any signature, yes, there is a signature of God. If you want to find the signature of God, you have to see in the variety. As a human being, whenever we create anything, we are extremely monotonous. The same brand, the brand of mobile phone in the shop, as long as it is in the showcase, it's almost impossible, the same brand of mobile, to distinguish one from the other. You cannot. It's almost the same. If you have a bunch of pen, you will find it is so monotonous. If I did it literally in our school, that I had a bunch of pen, I gave it to the students, all the students, and I took it back, and then I kept it on the table, and I asked them, come and pick up the pen which I gave it to you. It's impossible. How is it possible? Because they all look so same. But God's creation is wonderful. You, even if you don't know to read, you don't know to write, just with your left thumb impression, you can be distinguished from anyone in the world, isn't it? Even from your identical twin, with this you can be identified. No one, so much uniqueness is there in each and every being. That's God's creation. When we say all have to be of the same faith, we're going against God. It's a wonderful garden of various flowers. Swami Vivekananda used to say that the standardization of religion is just like having only one size coat in the shop, and you say everyone has to fit in. Somehow everyone has to fit in. That's not possible. So we all are of varied temperaments, varied way of relating to the spiritual ideal. So God can be in various forms. It's called, the ideas in our scripture is called ahangraha upasana. I won't go to the concept, the real concept of the idea. With the help of an example, we will try to understand that what sometimes this all our way we relate to the divine appears to be meaningless. So many will be making caricature. When they see the devotee going to the shrine, the way they are bowing down, it's not the same. In north, in south, you will find there are various ways. Some will be even holding their ears, kneeling down, and some will be laughing, looking at it. That's what they're doing. We say, why all those meaningless acts? This can be understood with a wonderful example. This example Swami Bhuteshanandaji used to give, was our 12th president, that suppose a surgeon has four children. And surgeon, after his work, he returns from his work to his home, and now he has to relax. First, he opens his white coat. He just keeps his stethoscope. He opens his shoes. And all these children, they come running. Someone will pick up the stethoscope, put it on his ears, and go around the house, putting it in everyone's chest. feigning as if he's the doctor. Someone will take the coat, wear the coat, and be moving around. And the youngest one will, of course, wear the shoes. You will find that children never wear their own shoes. They will always be wearing their father's shoes or mother's shoes and moving around. These are all meaningless acts, childish acts. The father is happy. You know why he's happy? He knows for very well that these all the children think me to be the ideal. That, and I'm a very established surgeon. I'm a man of reputation in this world, and all these children want to identify themselves with this father who has some good reputations for his work. And what's the way of identifying with him? That's what they do. Someone is wearing the coat, someone is taking the stethoscope, someone is wearing his shoes. These are all meaningless acts. But through these all meaningless acts, all the children inside, there's developing a motivation that one day we will have to be like our father. So just see, now you will understand. However meaningless the practices may appear, if we relate that way, as per the spirituality is considered, we are just like a small child. We're just novices in this path. However, we may be grown up, but in spirituality, we are just a small child. And just like a child, in so many apparently meaningless way, we are trying to relate to the divine. But inwardly, is anyone really thinking that I am worshipping the devil? No one. It is you who will be pointing by seeing others and say you are worshipping the devil. But does that person subjectively feel he's worshipping the devil? He's worshipping something heinous? No. He feels I am worshipping the Lord God of the universe, nothing else. That motivation is working. And we that way are, it is we, the God is quite happy. Swami Ramakrishna used to say in a wonderful way that there are 3-4 children in the house. The youngest one is yet to develop vocabulary. He cannot speak. Somehow one syllable he can say. He just say pa, nothing else. Will the father be angry with that child? He knows he's calling him only. The Lord of the universe is quite happy with whatever way we are trying to relate to him. That's what he's saying. Ye yathamam prapadyante, tangs tathaiva bhajamyam. I come down and worship him by fulfilling his needs in that way. It is we who have created all these standards. We think we are the caretakers of the divine. God has given us, has ordained us. That we sometimes jokingly say, if you go to Jagannath temple, he doesn't have hand, he doesn't have legs. And so the devotees goes and prays and the prayer is not fulfilled. So the Lord, as if silently saying, Mui haath mein, I don't have hand, I don't have leg, what can I do? So we have made the Lord like that only. So you see that what God actually, the way he has planned the universe, we are never caring for it. We think the Lord has no power. We say he is omnipotent, but he thinks he has no power. It is we who have been ordained to take care of his kingdom here and doing all sorts of nonsense here. If God has really is omnipotent, omniscient, and if we find that so many varied practices are there, can we not have this much of faith that after all, this universe is his? It is he who has created. If there is such varied way of worshipping him, it must be his will. It is his signature. To see the variety in the creation, there you find the God's signature. It is the signature. This variety is the signature of God. And we have to find out the unity in this diversity. So that's the idea that's which Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda is actually speaking. It's not something new. It's in the Bhagavad Gita. It's in our scriptures. Just they're highlighting it as per the need of the age. And even in a spiritual, psychological sense, what actually it is speaking of. That Sri Ramakrishna used to say a very interesting thing, that each and every form of the divinity, each and every form is just like a hole in the wall of ego. Ami Rup Deyale hole. Said how it is helping us spiritually. In what we are that it is all the forms leads to formlessness at last. It takes us. Form is the way. Yes, there are the dualistics who say, no, form is not the way. That is the ultimate. That's also okay. Let us try to understand this word of Ramakrishna, with which we can understand that all the varied practices are okay. Once Swami Vivekananda while conversing with Ramakrishna at Dakshineshwar, he told that such and such faith is a blind faith. It's andho vishwas, blind faith. Ramakrishna was immediately, he started smiling. He was a nice smile. And Naren told, have I told anything wrong? And then Ramakrishna's reply was wonderful. Just tell me which faith has eyes. Does any faith have eyes? Faith means blind. When you say I faith, means you're believing. You have not yet realized the religion. It's a faith. However reasonable it may appear, or however crude it may appear. After all, it's a faith. Does any faith have eyes? That was his reply. Then does it mean that faith is not to be, we shouldn't resort to faith? No. Faith is blind, but when you resort to that blind faith, it can be your eye opener. How? There are some words of Ramakrishna which are wonderful. In the gospel, he's saying that one person used to initiate others. He was a spiritual guru. And one day, a very simple person, illiterate, simple person came to him. The guru was a bit, that he had that pride of his knowledge. He told, you such a simple fellow, what can I teach you? He told, no, I have taken, I have resigned myself to you. I know you are great. You can save me. Please give me some mantra. And this guru gave some useless words to him. Just to make a fun of that person, some gadol mantra, something he gave which has no meaning. And then this man in a few years was a illumined soul, just repeating that gadol mantra. And everyone was amazed. Why? Faith. Faith is a blind. But when you really resort to it with full faith, it can be an eye-opener. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, very interesting thing, that to be guileless is something, Sharol, the one who is guileless, it's one of the biggest characteristic, but it's biggest attribute which we can have, which we have. He used to say, Onek jonmer tapasya thakle. If you don't have the austerity of many lives, you cannot be guileless. Just to hold on to some faith with this sincerity is not easy. For most of us, what happens, there's a nice way of saying it, that a music teacher used to, always has to accept certain remuneration for teaching. Now, two students came. One student, he asked, do you know anything of music? So he told, no, I know nothing. So for him, some fees was prescribed, say, you just pay me $30 for each session or $15 each session. And when the other student came in, do you know, well, yeah, I have learned some of my music. And for him, he told you have to give $70, $100 per session. And he was surprised. The one who doesn't know anything, for him, you're charging just $50 or $30. And from me, you're charging $100. And the guru's reply was, because for you, the effort will be more. First, I have to unlearn, make you forget what you have learned. And then again, I have to start. For him, I can start what happens with all our education, with all our education, at last, when we really understand the way of the spiritual journey, then we will understand that with simple faith, I have to start from the first step. In the Gospels, in one place, Naren read somewhere a very wonderful line, which is repeating in front of all, in presence of Sri Ramakrishna. Now, Sri Ramakrishna never knew English. He knew 1,000 English words. So just one of them he will be using in this context. What Naren suddenly told, that when all our learning is over, then we become a learned fool. And then the yearning for spirituality starts. We become a learning fool. And Ramakrishna never understood because he told it in English. So someone had to translate. And then Ramakrishna immediately told, thank you, thank you. So that's one of the English words which he knew. So he told, thank you, because he also liked that idea. So we also, with all our learning, at last understand we are a learned fool. Why? Because all these are ways, as Buddha used to say, that what is the problem with most of us, with all our learning, we take the way to be the goal. When someone is pointing at the moon, we take the index finger to be the moon. We forget that it is not the moon. It is pointing at something. We have to see the thing which has been pointed. Index finger is not the moon. For most of us, we confuse the index finger to be the moon. How? Now, whatever you are practicing, just to suppose you are a devotee of Krishna, someone is devotee of Rama, someone is of Jesus Christ, what you're doing, that if you're really a ardent spiritual practitioner, in all your whatever way of meditation it is, ultimately it comes down that you are contemplating on that divine personality. In Hinduism, we believe in form. Many will be say, does God has form? Now, what God can be, we don't know. But as a way, as a practice, to believe in form has a great advantage. Great advantage. To meditate on something abstract is very difficult. Why, Because even if you try to find out the way you're thinking, each and every thought has two components. Each and every thought, actually three components. They call it Nama, Rupa, Artha, Kriya, Karit. Artha, Kriya, Karit. What it means? This, suppose, say, take this one. So this is the remote control. It has a form. I give it a name. It's remote control. And it has a function. I will click it and the monitor will start there. It has a particular function. So whatever is there in my computer screen, that can be seen there. In the present context, I can use it with that purpose. So it has certain purpose, it has certain name, and it has certain form. These three things, anything in this world. Nama, Rupa, Artha, Kriya, Karitva. So whenever you are having any idea in your mind, that idea has these three components: Nama, Rupa, Artha, Kriya, Karitva. When the mother is calling, the son is not there at home, he has went to school. The thought of the child comes in the mother's mind. What will be coming? Immediately, she will be visualizing the form of the child and she will be repeating the name of the child just in mind. So you are internally conversing and visualizing. Each and every thought, of course, have these two components. Always the Artha, Kriya, Karitra doesn't come into picture, but these two will come to the picture, always. What's that two? That it has a form and it has particular name. So each and every thought, there is an internal conversation going on and internal visualization is going on. So now for meditating on God, the biggest problem is when you say God is formless, can you meditate really on God which is formless? Even if you ask those who believe in God without form, they will at the most say it is like sky, it's like ocean, some type of visualization they will have to resort to. So as this thought has two components. So if you try to meditate only with some concept, abstract idea, you find it is very difficult. It may so happen you are mumbling some words and those are empty words because your mind is visualizing every other thing. Those who are novice, they can easily understand this, that when you just repeat some word or repeat some prayer without any visualization, you will find these words become after some time meaningless. It becomes something like a dull repetition, but the mind is visualizing it because you have not taken care of the visualization aspect. Each thought has these two aspects, visualization and conversation. You are conversing, but the visualization aspect is kept free. You believe in formless God, so you're not meditating on any form. It is free. So it is free to visualize all sorts of things. You can never have a very effective meditation. So in Hinduism, for whatever may be the reason, this idea has developed. This idea of meditating on the form while repeating on name. So you are doing the japa, at the same time dhyana of your visualizing. This two has to go hand in hand. When you're doing this, when the more you become adept, the more you start at the beginning, as we told, that I have to use my willpower. Mind is getting distracted. Again and again, I'm trying to bring my mind to that concentration. I'm trying to do it. Again, the mind is getting distracted. I'm bringing. When you do it again and again, in the modern science, they say that we all resort to neuroplasticity. Our mind is plastic. When you do one thing again and again, a path is created. It gets wired up. So though at the beginning, it starts with will, with resolution, most probably you are yet to develop any liking for it. But if you are persevering, if you're patient, and if you're doing it regularly, in short time, you will find you have started developing a love for it. Bhaktya, they say that how devotion can be developed is through bhakti. Bhakti can be developed through bhakti by practicing. This constantly you go on practicing, and suddenly you will find that devotion has developed. And once the devotion has developed, then the real meditation starts. Because you don't have to force yourself. You have started loving it, and then that devotion comes. And then your mind enters into a state of flow. With the will you started, the will got converted into your devotion. The devotion now takes your mind to a state of flow. And when it enters your state of flow, you will find when the mind is focused, then what happens? All the distraction starts falling off. When you're watching the TV, some match is going on with full concentration, someone calls, you don't hear. The sound has entered your ear, but you cannot hear it because the mind doesn't get connected with the sound. Your mind is totally focused on the thing you are seeing in the TV. The same thing happens with the focus, with the devotion. The more your mind gets devoted, the more the distraction starts falling off. Not only that, still when it gets more and more concentrated, because you have already created the groove in your mind, the mind likes to travel that path. It has developed that obsession. You're in a flow. Then what happens? You will find even in our day-to-day life, a musician, a classical musician is practicing throughout not throughout night, even late night, for hours together. What has happened? He has forgotten his sleep. He has forgotten even that he's hungry. The painter is painting. Some author is writing a book. Some research scholar is busy with the research. They forget that they have to take food. They have to, they take rest, tired. Why? That even mind needs, a small part of mind is needed to take care of this bodily alarm system. These are alarms in the form of hunger. The pangs of hunger is the alarm. You have to take food. So for that, the mind has to be concentrated to that alarm. That has also fallen off. Your mind is so focused. So your meditation becomes more and more intense. You find that you read the history of the spiritual sage, saints and all. In their life, you will find that tremendous madness came. They forgot everything. They are the real mystics who went to the realization. For them, religion was not a belief. And this intense practice, when they forget everything, and what happens? At last, that last thing to fall off is the idea of this I, that is always there. The first thing which makes us sentient is that the conscious principle got attached to this body-mind complex to create the sense of ego. With that, we are holding on to that ego, everything else is possible. The ego is that last thing to fall off. The mind always remains attached to that ego. And remaining attached to that ego, it does other thing. But when you're intense, the focus has become so much. At last, the mind cannot take care of your ego, that asmita also. That falls off. And then you enter into the state of samadhi. What is samadhi? In the scripture, very nice. These words, the more you understand, you find what wonderful things they have discovered hundreds of years back. He called samadhis triputi bheda. Triputi. There are three things when you are meditating. What are the three things? I am meditating, dhyata. I am meditating on something, dheya, object of meditation. And the process of meditation is connecting these two. The meditator and the object of meditation is connected to the process of meditation. So I am aware. My mind has become so focused that it has forgotten everything. But this is the last thing, still it's there. Dhyana, dhyata, dheya. Jnana, gyata, geya. That this is the object of knowledge. I am the one who is knowing it. And this knowing is the process by which these two are connected. When the ego falls off, this triad collapses. That you become one with the object of meditation. That has collapsed. You will see that a Krishna Bhakta says the world is Krishnamaya. That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's famous line, Jatra Jatra Netra Pare, Tatra Tatra Krishna's Fure. Wherever my eyes fall, I see Krishna is popping up from everything. That you become identified with that. Sri Ramakrishna used to say that in the rainy season, the way the grass field is drenched with water. You just walk over it, everywhere it's water. It's drenched with water. I see the entire world similarly is drenched with consciousness. This tatra tatra param padam drishyate. Everything you say. That what has happened when the ego falls off, then you relate to that infinitude. This ego has fallen off. With your contemplation, you have created a framework. Now, Ramakrishna is giving this wonderful example. Suppose there's a wall. There's a wall, and you don't know what is on the other side of the wall. So you start chiseling off the wall. You start chiseling off. Little by little, you're chiseling off. And when the chiseling is complete, you have created a hole, and you peep through that hole. You see infinite expanse, infinite. There's no end. So Ramakrishna is saying that all the divine forms are just a framework which you are chiseling in the wall of ego. What a wonderful thing he's saying. How he gave this wonderful example? Because that's the thing he has done in his own life. For 12 years, he was a spiritual glutton, one after another. Whenever he's getting established in one path, again he's taking another path. Is that where he's going? What he was doing, he was creating innumerable holes in this wall of ego. He was chiseling these various forms. As long as you're chiseling, it is just an imagination. When the chiseling is complete, the hole is formed. Now you're looking to the other side. Now this hole becomes the framework to peep into the eternity. So the Krishna says the world is Krishnamay. Rama says it is Ramamay. The Christian says it is God and God alone. It is through Christ you can see the God. Same thing. So what has happened? You have chiseled the hole in the wall of ego to peep into the infinity. What a wonderful thing that Ramakrishna is saying. And then you find again this ye yatha man prapadyante. Is through your spiritual endeavor. At last, what you are endeavoring, that's what you see to be your ultimate goal. And you're relating to that ultimate reality, the same ultimate reality, through your framework, through which you have practiced, you have chiseled with the help of your imagination, your visualization. So it leads to that same ideal. So this is, from a very broader perspective, this is the idea of ye yatha mam prapadyante tangs tathaiva bhajamyaham. And from another prospect, what it means, it is, you can say, still broader, that not only spiritual journey, even if you have a worldly goal, I want to earn money, I want to have wealth, I want the latest model of car, and you get it. And you get tremendous joy. God is saying that you know it for certain that the thing which you are desiring, you get, and you get the bliss out of it. Know it for certain that is I who am delivering. Even a thief, after stealing, he was planning for a long time. You may say, is it really, is God there also? Yes, it's a very wrong way, but you are getting the correct thing in the wrong way, and that won't give you ultimate happiness. Why? In a very simple way we can understand that this world, as we were saying, this world doesn't have the capacity to give us even a small fragrance of happiness. This world is just advertised happiness. The Lord is bliss. Bliss, whenever it comes, in whatever form, is from the Lord. You say, how? Even for all the gross things which the world do, run after? Yes. Happiness comes from the God. Actually, happiness is never from the desired object. You also will agree with me. Happiness is because of desirelessness. As long as the desire is there, you are restless. When the desire is fulfilled, you are in the state of desirelessness. Swami Vivekananda is giving a wonderful example with which you will understand this idea. That he's saying our mind is like a lake. It's like a lake. I cannot see the bottom of the lake because the lake has a lot of waves. It is turbulent. It's very turbulent, a lot of waves, a lot of impurities. I cannot see the bottom of the lake. But if the lake is clear, transparent, and there is calm, there's no wave, I can even see the bottom of it. If you go to Uttarkashi, where Ganga has just came down, you can see the river bed, the rocks, everything is visible. The water is so transparent, calm. And you can see wherever the water has formed an estuary, the water is calm, you can see the bottom of it. So what's the idea? Swamiji is saying that our real nature is something like the bottom of the lake. It is something which is in the core of our being. Our mind is just like that lake. All our desires, distractions are like the waves. In our life, whenever we have some intense desire, what is happening? That intense desire first will engulf, will swallow all the small desires. Suppose a small child is very much distracted in thousands of things and is not giving proper attention to the studies, and father gives a condition that I'm going to, that the laptop you want, I'm going to purchase it for you if you get certain good grades. And now what the child, as he really wants that laptop, so first he will be renouncing all those distractions for this big desire which he has. I want to have that laptop. For this, small other distractions are being engulfed. He's now giving more importance to his studies, studying more focused. And as per the condition, when he really gets a good grade, because now he has been focused, he gets good grade, the father brings him the laptop. The moment he gets, he's extremely ecstatic, so happy that he cannot just think that there's nothing else which can give more happiness. He's so happy, running around the house, saying, everyone, see, father has brought me this laptop and all. So what has happened? From where that happiness came? Did that laptop give the happiness? No. All the small thoughts, desires were engulfed by a large wave in the mind. And I want that laptop. I want that laptop. The moment he gets it, for the time being, there is no wave in the mind. There's a let go. Because you've got it. One desire has actually engulfed all other desires. And now the moment this desire is fulfilled, there's a let go for the time being. And now what happens? The Sat Chit Ananda Swarupa, which is the core of our being, the Sat Swarupata, the Chit Swarupata never gets filtered out. I am always aware I am. When I'm unhappy, then also I'm aware I am. When I'm happy, then also I'm aware I am. But what gets filtered out is Ananda Swarupata, that bliss. When the mind is calm, then there is no factor that can now filter out that bliss factor. It is the bliss within that is emanating. So whenever you're getting joy, for whatever reason, it is the Lord. And the problem is, we are constantly thinking this object has given us joy. We never realize it is the Lord alone who is giving us joy. If we knew, then what would be our attempt? To keep the mind always calm, isn't it? Never to go for any distractions. But as we are being fooled by the jnana, avidya, that it is the objects, that I am something insignificant, and this world has a lot of resource, I have to reach out to get it, because that is the object which is going to give me joy. I am unfulfilled because of my insufficiency. I am not sufficient. I forgot that I am the Lord, the Paramatma. Nothing is there which I want. I'm always blissful. I'm eternal. We forgot. Now we are thinking I'm something small. We're reaching out thinking that object will give us happiness. The moment we get it, now again another desire arises, because it's the object which gives us happiness. So though we are going for that momentary happiness, it's not stays. Because of avidya, thousands of karma, desires come in our mind that leads us to karma, and this cycle of avidya, karma, karma takes us from birth to birth. It's going on. Swami Vivekananda gives a wonderful example that, in the village, how the bullock used to grind the oil seeds to get out oil. They used to use the bullock. So they will tie the stick on the head of the bullock, and there will be straw hanging, and the bullock is to be tied to the upper stone of the two stones which were meant for grinding the oil seeds. And there is no need for any person to make the bullock go round and round. The bullock will be constantly chasing for the straw, but it cannot reach because there's a stick on which it is hanging. The bullock moves, the straw moves, the bullock goes on moving, and the oil gets grinded. And that's what nature has done for us. All your position, name, relations, like the straw is hanging in front of you. Your tail is the bullock's tail, is your degrees, all the qualifications, long tail, and we go on revolving, thinking I'm a big learned person, but we are all fools. The nature has made us fool. For lives together, we are just grinding the oil, nothing else. Once you know that, the bliss comes from desirelessness. that we have taken the wrong path to attain happiness. So we do attain happiness, and that comes due from the Lord. That Lord is always worshipping us with that happiness, but it's momentary, because again we are chasing from something else. Again he's busy to give us that desire. It's fulfilled. Again I have some other desire. It never gets ending. But the one who wants the Lord, wants it bliss, and have understood. That's why when someone came to Ramakrishna and told that someone has stolen something, and some person has came, and a plate will, all the persons whom you suspect that he has stolen, they all has to sit around, and one person will be holding the plate, and this and some mantras will be just repeated, and this plate will start moving towards the person who is the real culprit. And then Ramakrishna asks, does it really happen? Does it really happen? Then someone said, there must be some trick. And Ramakrishna's immediate reply was, Sa Chaturi Chaturi. They're always, they're focused, there's like a compass needle, it is always focused there. Sa Chaturi. That trick is the only trick which helps you to get Lord, nothing else. Sa Chaturi Chaturi. So those who have learned that's the only trick. That is the real trick. All else is of no use. So that's the thing which Bhagavan is indicating here from a much more broader perspective. Whatever you're desiring me alone through whatever path. And then in the next sloka, you will find it is a continuation. We will take it in the next class. That the small desires are easy to get. But to get me, that is, of course, it needs a lot of practice. Because already we have created these bundles of thousands of desires. It's easy to just resort to one of the channel to get that momentary happiness, to get rid of all of them. That's by resigning to me, and to get that eternal, ineffable joy, something as permanent in your life. As in our scriptures, they say the real bliss is Taila Dharavat. It's just like the flow of the oil. There's no interruption because of the viscosity. Taila Dharavat. So like that happiness, which is incessant, that is only possible when we worship the Lord for the Lord, not for anything else. He becomes the means, he becomes the end. That he will be again speaking of in the next sloka. Though it's not easy, but that's the ultimate goal if you really want happiness. So we will continue with this again in the next class. So the next session, we have a session on the resilience, the last session. So we will just have a small gap before we start for that. Oh, yes. And next week, we have our Guru Purnima celebration. There is no class, but yeah, from 10 o'clock, there will be some special worship. Some talk also will be there on the significance of Guru Purnima. So you all are invited. Please come and join the session next year from 10 to 1 p.m. Just we will have a small break before we start the next session. Thank you all.